Now, I think we can all agree that Alabama is playing its best football of the season right now. But I think we can also agree that unless they get some help, they don't control their own destiny. Now, the best path, obviously, for Alabama to make the 14 playoff is to have carnage all around. Carnage in the Pac-12 with Washington and Oregon. Carnage in the Big 12, obviously, with Texas. Carnage with Florida State and the ACC. And obviously hoping for some carnage that could come out of the Big Ten East between either Michigan and Ohio State, even though that's not likely, considering they still get to play the Big Ten West winner for the Big Ten championship. But if you're an Alabama fan, there is one team that you are rooting for as hard as you humanly possibly can this weekend, and that is Iowa State. Because if Texas loses in some form or fashion, the thorn in Alabama's side will be gone when it comes down to making the college football playoff. And you say, why? There's a lot of other teams that could lose and help out Alabama. But that's not very likely. It's not likely that Florida State is going to lose a game during the regular season and possibly lose the ACC championship game or one or the other. It's not likely that a team out of the Big Ten is not going to be undefeated because, let's face it, Michigan should win this weekend. Ohio State should win this weekend. They play each other next weekend and then the Big Ten West champion. So you're most likely getting two undefeated teams at least to make the college football playoff. Then you go out to the Pac-12. If Washington is able to survive the rest of the regular season and have a rematch with Oregon once again in the Pac-12 championship, then you are going to have at least a quality team from the Pac-12 that is going to get in the college football playoff. So, again, if you're an Alabama fan, you're a huge Iowa State fan this weekend. You're a huge Texas Tech fan next weekend. And if Texas wins both those games, you're a huge whoever fan, whoever they play in the Big 12 championship game. Because at the end of the day, even with a win over Georgia in the SEC championship game, which would be a must for Alabama, who has to clear the rest of the regular season as well, they still need some help. Speaking about help, my buddy David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback, is going to join us. And y'all know what today is, so y'all know who's on my right.
No. Graphic.
They forgot the graphic.
Y'all know.
They forgot the graphic.
This is flaming.
Jeez.
Wow.
Hey, dragon.
Turn of events.
It's your favorite dragon on a
How
Friday.
about a turn of events?
Your favorite dragon on a
Typically,
Friday.
I forget
hey,
it.
1.5.
1.5?
1.5 today, fellas.
You're just going to let the control room slide like that.
Huh?
Yeah.
You're just going to let
No,
them slide.
they'll pay the price.
Well, you
They'll already pay the
caved like Michigan.
They'll bring David into this. All right. Don't bring David's emotional feelings
What?
into this.
It's
All right.
it's late November. I'm already in Alabama.
Yeah, what do you mean
fan.
emotional?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I'm
Yeah.
almost
Not this
out of
There you
it.
go.
Well, I'm dead inside, so, again, I don't have emotional feelings. But if you don't know, if it's your first time joining us on Fridays, I cannot use my brother's government name.
And what is that name?
So I'm not going to say that.
That should count.
No, it shouldn't count. No, it
That's
shouldn't.
my name. That's
No,
my
it
government
shouldn't
name.
count.
Rules
No, it
is
shouldn't
rules.
It's the
count.
definition of my govy.
At the end of the day, let me explain to the people.
Tell you
We
what.
cannot say, you said 1.5 or 2.5?
You know what I said.
No, I don't.
What'd I say, David?
Might as well just be 0.5.
Okay,
That's the hook.
we'll go
Yeah.
0.5.
wanna talk about
We'll go
speaking-
0.5. David heard it. All right, we're going 0.5 today.
Speaking about 1.5, Alabama with one loss right now.
Yep.
You look at all through this, and I could have laid out 500,000 scenarios that could happen. A lot. There's still a lot to be played. But to simplify it, to make it easier, yes, you want carnage if you're an Alabama fan, because you don't control your own destiny. In reality, Florida State wins out. You get an undefeated team from the Big Ten. Washington goes undefeated and wins the Pac-12. Those three are in. And if Texas wins out, Texas is getting in over Alabama. Like it's just the truth. The biggest help, if Texas loses, Alabama truly controls their own destiny, in my opinion, because it knocks out the Big 12 team. You can have an undefeated Big 10 team, an undefeated ACC team, a one-loss or an undefeated Pac-12 team, and that fourth spot will go to the SEC team. Because I don't think if Georgia runs the table the rest of the regular season, I was talking about this with Blaine Gilmer last night from Southeastern 14, if Georgia runs the table in the regular season, rest of the regular season, and loses to Bama in the SEC championship game, Georgia's not getting in either. So it looks like right now, unless there is absolute craziness across the board, which there could be, Only one SEC team is getting in.
Yeah, which is wild to think that the back-to-back defending champions go undefeated again this year, and their only loss is in the conference championship game, and they don't get the benefit of what happened to OSU in the Big Ten last year or TCU losing their conference championship game, but not this year. There's just too much parity. On the Alabama side of things, though, I still just feel like the most important thing is to win out. Right? You
Without a doubt.
the Iron Bowl on the road ahead of you in Jordan-Hare. That always gets weird. And then you're going to go play what I think is the most unbeatable team right now in Georgia. That game's already slated. They came out, the line opened at -3 Georgia. I think that line is pretty much right. And if you're Alabama right now, where the beginning of the year you got beat by double digits at home by Quinn Ewers in Texas and then followed that up looking really ugly at South Florida and you were having quarterback problems, bench Jalen Milroe, everything that's happened since then, you're already slated to play in the SEC championship game and you're only -3 underdog. That's a huge win. They're playing as good as anyone in the country too. My focus would be you just got to win out and handle your business. Because I have a hard time believing if Alabama goes and wins, well, they got Chattanooga too, I guess is at least worth mentioning.
You put some
But
respect
beat
on
Chattanooga, win the Iron Bowl, and then you beat the back-to-back champions in the SEC championship game. I know they still need a little help here and there. I'm just saying that's a playoff team.
You know what else is intentional?
Tell me.
When I drink coffee in the morning because it's part of my routine. And everybody knows here we love Black Rifle coffee. But we know you don't always have time to brew the coffee the traditional way each morning. That's why you need Black Rifle Coffee's ready-to-drink cans. #deliciousness. It's perfect for people who need their coffee quickly. They got great flavors, vanilla bomb, salted caramel, mocha, and vanilla caramel. And also, Black Rifle Coffee is veteran-founded, right? That's operated by principled men and women who honor those who protect, defend, and support our country. And with every purchase you make, they give back. So stop running out of coffee and go sign up for a Coffee Club subscription. They've got great flavors. What do you got over there, David?
Man, I still got the Headless Horseman's roast, pumpkin
Shout out
spice.
Ichabod. You got Gunship?
Gunship.
AC 130?
If you hear it, you're dead already.
Yeah, it's absolutely delicious. I don't even know if caffeine has an effect on me anymore, but I love the taste. They've got a range of flavors, and it is a great company with a great product. So save money, drink America's coffee. Go to blackriflecoffee.com. Use our promo code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, at checkout for 10% off your one-time purchase or first Coffee Club order. That's blackriflecoffee.com. Promo code BOOSTER for 10% off. You can also find it at grocery and convenience stores near you, but we know you want to go to blackriflecoffee.com and use that promo code BOOSTER. Black Rifle Coffee, America's coffee. I'm not arguing, almost did it. I'm not arguing whether Alabama's, but I think Bama's one of the top 4 teams in the country right now. But when you look at the rankings, obviously you have Georgia 1, right? And we're assuming that if Alabama's going to make it, they obviously have to beat Georgia.
Yep.
You have Michigan and Ohio State
That's
right
2
there.
versus 3 right
And
now.
2 versus 3 right now.
Yep.
So that's going to take care of itself for one of those teams.
And 5 versus 6, Washington and Oregon are either going to rematch or a loss will happen for either one of them.
Both still
before
have to
that.
play Oregon State, right? Which we know what
Yep.
happened with Oregon State and Oregon last year.
Washington's a dog tomorrow.
No, and that's,
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people realize that. They
Yeah.
are an underdog if you look at the sports books to Oregon State. The argument is not whether Alabama is one of the top 4 teams. It's that if everything goes chalk the rest of the way, and you can sit here and say, well, I hope Florida State loses. I don't see Florida State losing to North Alabama or Florida, even though they got to go to the
but how
swamp.
about
They
Louisville
could.
in the ACC championship?
That's going to be your best chance for Florida. Because if Florida State loses a game, they are out.
Yep.
A one-loss Florida State, I don't care if they win the ACC, in my opinion, isn't as good as a one-loss Alabama. Right now, we'll see what the committee says. But if you look at where they're ranked right now, Oregon is ahead of Alabama. Texas is ahead of Alabama. Florida State, obviously the undefeated teams, are ahead of Alabama. So if Texas, I'll go back to Texas again. If Texas loses, Flaming Dragon, that opens the door up for Alabama more than anything because that gives Texas that second loss. That takes away your head-to-head loss tiebreaker that you would win if you beat Georgia in Atlanta. And I know we're explaining this like the strings from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But if you keep up with college football, you know what I'm saying.
So you're right. You're right. If Texas wins out, they should be in, even if Bama wins out. But do we really think, that if Bama beats Georgia in the SEC championship and Texas just kind of slides by the last couple of games, do y'all think they're going to keep a Nick Saban team who just beat Georgia in the SEC championship out of the playoff?
They kept them out of the playoff last year and put TCU.
Well, they had 2 losses.
Here's my question. Are you saying, because you have to be specific if you're going to ask this, of what happens around? Because if we just say, if Texas goes undefeated, Bama's not making the playoff, that's not true. To me, that's their best shot. Their best shot is Texas losing. So around that, if Texas wins out, they win the rest of their games, they win this weekend at Iowa State, they beat Texas Tech next week, and they win the Big 12. Okay, they're now what? 12-1.
Yeah.
12-1 going in the playoff. Are you saying that Florida State goes undefeated? One team from the Big 10 goes undefeated, so that's 2 that are in. Texas will be in 3, and then it comes down to either an undefeated Washington, who would get in over Bama, or a one-loss Oregon, who just beat Washington in the Pac-12 championship, who is ranked ahead of Alabama. So then the question becomes, if you're dealing with a one-loss Oregon, okay, against a one-loss Alabama, where Oregon was ranked higher than Alabama was, and they just beat a top 5 team in Washington, you think they're going to jump? Bama will jump Oregon.
Well,
after all year, they talked
it
about
comes
the
down to
Pac-12
criteria,
strength.
right? That's what it comes down to.
That's what I'm asking.
What's Oregon's best win?
Washington,
Okay, what would be Alabama's best win?
Georgia.
Okay, I lean Alabama on that, right? Strength of schedule, who's better? Bama. Right?
I got
From a ranking standpoint, it was in the chat yesterday.
Again,
It's
but that's
Bama.
where my point that I was talking with Chris Marlar about is the strength of schedule is done by humans again.
Yeah, I mean,
about ranking.
well,
But we trust the committee to make the right decision.
Well, again,
we do.
I don't trust the committee to do anything.
They have most of the time.
But Flamin' Dragon, again, if that was the case, who's got the better strength of schedule right now? Alabama or Oregon?
Alabama.
Who has more losses, Alabama or Oregon?
The same amount of losses.
Then why is Oregon ranked ahead of Alabama?
I mean, no, true. I'm not saying you're wrong, but that Georgia win makes it feel different, right? Like
But
you
that
beat
Washington
you beat the
win,
back-to-back national champion, right? That it weighs different than beating
If
Washington.
Oregon played Alabama on a neutral site, I'm taking Alabama. I'm not disagreeing with you that I think Alabama's a better team. But how can you, as a committee, when all that's been preached all year, and I don't think they're wrong, is that the Pac-12 is probably the best conference in college football this year, we're going to sit here and say, all right, Oregon, you've been ranked ahead of Alabama in the college football playoff rankings all this time, all the way through it. Y'all went through y'all's conference championship. Oregon beat undefeated Washington, who's a top 5 team, and Alabama just beat undefeated Georgia, who's the #1 team in the country. Is that win over Georgia enough to move Alabama ahead of Oregon, who just beat Washington, another undefeated top 5 team, when Oregon's been ranked ahead of them?
Well, here's something else to consider. If it comes down to Alabama and Oregon, because Texas has already lost, and it's not between Alabama and Texas where that head-to-head, then that means that Texas will have another loss. So the at-home loss for Alabama against Texas, who then will be a multi-loss team, is a little bit weaker, whereas Oregon's only loss will be on the road against Washington in a rivalry game that stayed undefeated the entire time until the Pac-12 championship. We're assuming they handle Oregon State in this scenario and all that. And then you avenge your loss. That's one of the things that the committee will 100% talk about that.
I just don't think we're weighing enough of what it is to beat Georgia. Like that is climbing the mountaintop.
Again, I am saying I think Alabama is better than Oregon. Right now, I think Alabama is better than Texas. But if they win out, it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what the committee thinks. And at the end of the day, they've shown you, at least up to this point, what they believe between Alabama and Oregon with where they're ranked. And I don't know, as incredible of a win as it would be for Alabama to beat Georgia, which nobody's saying that's not a guarantee by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know if that's enough to move them ahead of Oregon if Oregon beats an undefeated Washington team in the Pac-12 championship that's already ranked ahead of them. Like, you know what, solve it a 12-team playoff. That'd be pretty sweet. Oh, wait, now I remember. But we want to know what you think. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Everybody on YouTube, thanks for stopping by. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button on all the videos you watch. Helps out more than you know. And once again, thanks for stopping by.